Most business books don't fail because the writing is bad. They fail because the positioning is wrong. Now, most entrepreneurs think writing a book is about getting published, but today's guest believes actually the wrong goal, because if a book is just something you publish, you might sell a few copies, but if it's positioned correctly, it becomes one of the most powerful authority assets in your business. So, welcome back to the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast, where we explore how coaches, consultants, and experts can grow their business through authority, positioning, and strategic visibility, whether that's through podcasting, speaking, or publishing. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm joined by Wiebke Tasch, founder of Digital Authors, a US-based publishing agency that helps entrepreneurs turn their expertise into powerful non-fiction books designed to build credibility, attract premium clients, and create long-term brand equity. With over 8 years in publishing and a background from Bauhaus University, Wiebke specializes in helping experts stop treating books as passion projects and start using them as strategic authority assets inside their business. So this episode is called Stop Publishing, Start Positioning, the Authority Asset Framework. And if you've ever thought about writing a book to grow your business, or wondered why some books create huge opportunities while others just quietly disappear, then this conversation is going to completely change how you think about publishing. Let's dive in. Wiebke, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So you've been in this a while. So for you, was there a moment in your publishing career where you realized most entrepreneurs were approaching books completely the wrong way?
Yes, actually, through my own story, it's like an interesting how I stumbled into publishing, because 2018, I was writing a book in German, and I actually did nothing really. I just wrote a book, uploaded it on Amazon, and then 18 months later, it became a bestseller in German. And I was like, I had no idea what I was doing, honestly. Like, I just put in some keywords I was thinking could fit, and somehow I hit the niche, which was super popular. So I was super happy about it. And then I published a second and a third book, and it was nothing, like no sales. I had a wonderful cover. I had very good editing and everything, but it was like people didn't care. So in this experience, actually, over the years, and working obviously with a lot of clients, I figured out it's not just publishing and maybe be lucky like I was with my first book. It's really understand what the niche is, what your target group is, do a market analysis before to understand, are there any demands? Are people searching for this book? Are people willing to buy? Are people willing to invest in this kind of subject? Is the competition low? Is it really worth it? And so my first book was really just like a lucky strike. And from there, I could understand what I did with my first book and hit the best-selling list in Germany, and why my other books failed. And this knowledge I could use for my clients. And now over the years, I developed a market analysis for books where we really go deep in the beginning. And I even go today, I go so far, we even structure the writing and the book outline. So people stick with your writing and your subject, and going really from the beginning to the end, and you transform those readers, those cold readers, so to speak, into paying clients. So it's a whole process from A to Z.
Yes, so there's a little bit more than just sitting down and writing. And you talk about books as authority assets rather than just publication. So what other pieces need to exist around a book for it to actually function as part of someone's authority infrastructure, if you like?
Yeah, first of all, you need to be an authority, which means you need to have knowledge in your field. And it's something about it people can like their feel if you like just like a talker or like a little swindler and you just make stuff up, you can like even read it in a book. So the first step is you really know what you're talking about. This is very important. And from there, I always say it's important in the book. So this is the first step in the book, bring in your experience. Don't just write something like conceptualized ideas and concepts and super abstract. Put in your own experience, little anecdotes from you, from your clients, and guide your readers through it, like chapter by chapter, and everything is built on each other and really show your authority. So this is a first very important step, to bring in your own knowledge. And when I have a client, we usually do 2 rounds of editing. Like first is like a development edit, which I do, and we go through the manuscript and see if you really position yourself as an authority. If your reader really understand, okay, who is this person? Does she or he has enough like background knowledge? Is it really true? Like how was their process in becoming an authority? Because the readers actually, they're buying your book and they want to be there where you are today. So this is the whole idea. And so you have to prove in your writing that you're actually the person who you claim to be, if this makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. It's very similar to around why certain podcasts do better, because everybody thinks that they've got to come on and just teach. But I'm sure you've all heard this before. Information tells, stories sell. And it is only when people actually resonate with that story. And I think many are, I don't know what it is, but they're afraid to share a story when they were struggling. If they're hugely successful now and they're talking about themselves, they think that by listing their achievements and their accomplishments, that's what's going to drive. But actually, the opposite is true. It's when they hear the story of, like with you at the beginning, okay, you had a one-hit wonder in a way, because yes, it was lucky, and then the second and third failed. There's no shame in that. We learn from our failures. And when we share those stories, which are true stories, the people listening, or the people reading in this case, are going to resonate more with it because it makes it sound like it's actually possible for them. So, okay, you're dealing with that, and then obviously the editing side comes in. But what actually needs to happen before someone even starts writing to make sure their book supports their business? You've spoken about doing some market analysis, and they've got to obviously know what they're talking about. But is there anything else?
Yeah, so it's important to understand the market first and then see, obviously, we need to see how the market and your authority knowledge fits in together. We have to like piece this together. For example, I just had a client, she wrote a book about like the digital nomad style. And then she came to me because the book is not selling. She had 0 sales and she just published, and we're like waiting for something to happen, but yeah, didn't happen so far. So we went back to the beginning, did like a market analysis, and then we found that digital nomad lifestyle, nobody is searching for it in a book niche. Nobody reads books about digital nomad styles or like the lifestyle. And she asked me, maybe I'm early. And I love this question because it's like, if the data is showing, no, there is no market, it's why do you want to wait until maybe there's a market in the future, maybe not. So we like positioned her differently and checked the market. And there was a lot of like data for leaving 9 to 5, building your own business, and using like the digital nomad lifestyle as like a bypass or like a byproduct of building a freedom-based business instead of just going, I want to be a digital nomad. So we changed her positioning, and she is actually also a coach for building online businesses. So it was fitting her expertise so well. And we restructured the whole book, like the whole outline. And she hated it in the beginning because she needed to write a book again. And we went through it like a couple of times, but it's so much better. Like she has so much knowledge, and also she was afraid of really like telling her story. Like sometimes in her books was like I was a bit afraid of this, and then changing the subject. And like when we went over it, like, can you please go deeper in this? Because it's so important. Like people need to understand it, because people see themselves in your process, and especially the failures.
Yes.
Because it's so important, because if you just, hey, look at me, like I'm like, I achieved this and this, and people kind of resent
yes
this if someone is just showing off with their success, because the way to go there's a lot of failures. And if you share them honestly and share what you learn from it, you help other people to bypass those failures and really get the work done and really get the message through it, through the readers.
I couldn't agree more. And that is the issue. And I do think I think people are getting braver, and they are more speaking their truth. And that is really interesting. I've been a digital nomad for about 2.5 years now. And yeah, it hasn't all been plain sailing at all. Although I have been in Mexico all winter since November, but I'm going back to the UK very soon. Not so much fun. But yeah, it's had its ups and downs. But it's interesting that people haven't been searching that. But you're so right. It just goes to show that's not necessarily wrong, but just changing the focus. So just repositioning onto, not everybody wants to be a digital nomad. You know, I couldn't have done this years ago when my girls were at home. I only did it once I became an empty nester, because that's what I wanted. That's not the right fit for everyone. So yeah, you're very, very niche. If you're going to focus on that, you might sell a couple of books. That that makes sense. But it goes back to the whole sell them what they want, then give them what they need. And sometimes we have to get out of our own way, because what we think is the right thing isn't different. So it isn't the right thing. So having somebody like you to be there to go in deeper on the market research or the market analysis and find a way to position them in the correct way, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Now, I know another really good thing, books do really well on podcasts, right? So when someone is writing a book strategically, how should that connect with other authority platforms like podcasts or speaking gigs or just content?
Yeah, super important, because writing a book is like 50%, and like do marketing and talk about your book is another 50%. And it's like an ongoing process. And I would say, even when we start with authors, even in the beginning, like after the development stage, which is like setting the foundation for the book, I always suggest, okay, now it's the time to start going on a podcast tour. And it's actually 6 months before the book launch, because there's a couple of things are important. First of all, you need to build an audience, and you need to talk about your book. You need to let the world know that you're writing a book and what's your niche, and connecting with your target group. And then secondly, the book launch, it's so important, and nobody really understands how the Amazon algorithm works, because the first 5 days when you publish a book, it's the most important days in your publishing journey, because the algorithm noticed how much traffic you bring to the book. And this is printed in like a stamp in the algorithm. And from there, the algorithm always brings you traffic accordingly to the first 5 days. So if you manage to like build momentum, go on a podcast tour, do like social media marketing, have a book launch strategy, and make sure a lot of people like pre-ordering the book, and all your friends and family and all your audience pre-orders the book, and you bring a lot of traffic, Amazon will take over the marketing for you in the long run, which means Amazon will suggest your books to other people in your niche, to readers in your niche. When people, for example, searching escaping 9 to 5, and then you wrote a book about it, and you managed to bring a lot of traffic during like the launch period, the first 5 days, and Amazon will always suggest your book to other readers. But you need to do the first very important step and push your book during the book launch, and you just have 5 days. This is so important. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And because books do tend to do very well. And I believe it is because if you're guesting on someone's podcast, the listeners are there for the host in general, and maybe the types of guests that that host has on, they're interested in, obviously, but you're borrowing trust. And so often I have guests on here, and when it comes to the end, I'm asking them, what should the listeners do next? Or where can people find you? And they give a ton of things. Check out my website, or you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find me on Instagram. And you're like, you just confused everybody. Whereas a book, obviously there's a perception that if you've authored, you're a published author, you have already got authority. And then purchasing a book is a very low risk. They're not going to get inundated with emails, and they might do. It's very low risk. Whereas trying to get somebody to book a call from a podcast or join my workshop or buy this, very difficult. So books do incredibly well. The next stage from that, so how do we move from a book to actually getting premium clients? So how does positioning a book correctly help attract higher quality or higher paying clients?
Yeah. So first of all, what we always do is like in the book, we try to convert the reader into like your community. This is the first step. So you can't jump like from A to K. You need like A, B. We need the steps. And people who are really interested in your book, people buy your book and then they're alone with your book, so to speak, like for, I don't know how fast people read, but like a week at least, or like a couple of weeks or something, a couple of months. And so they're really going deep into the subject. And if it's a good transformative book, people want to connect to other people. People want to, oh man, I got it. I also want to leave my job and building my own life, be my own boss, or like living my own dream life. And so the next step is inviting people in your own community and having a good platform in it, and also make it easy for your readers. Like usually at the end of the book, have a QR code, like something easy, or forwarding them to like a landing page, and from there gives them some options, not too many, like a couple or three, like a group, a webinar, social media, whatever, but make it easy for people to convert into your audience. And from there, convert them in, do a discovery call, get to know the person. And when people are really interested in you, they're buying your packages. For example, I had a client, she wrote a wonderful book. It was like a transformative book about your own emotional world. And she just got emails. People asking her questions and, oh, what can I do with this? And it came to her. So she didn't have to like fish for people. With her book, she just built a beautiful garden, and like people came to her. And like I said, you need to make it easy for people to like, you need to show people the steps, like community, and then maybe some 101, and from there, like converting to higher steps. Yeah.
It's the front of the funnel, but people need to be told what to do. You can't just expect them to think about what is the next step. And although you've spoken about the first 5 days as being really important, but you also describe books as their long-term assets. So how can entrepreneurs think about the lifetime value of a book rather than just the launch day results?
Yeah. So the launch day is important, like I said, for like Amazon. But the long term, it's just think about it. Like it's a book if you don't unpublish it or someone else unpublish it for you. But a book is there for the long run. And also you put so much time and energy in it, and it's your knowledge. And people need time to reading it. So it's really something for the long run. And it's out there for a very long time. And also usually people writing book like once. It's not like a social media post. It's not like something pops up and like after a couple of seconds it's gone. Like a book converts so much knowledge and so much wisdom and really give people to go deep into a subject, which helps people transform their life. And really like book have the ability to transform people's life in the long run. So it's, if you just see it as a content, it's like this long form content for a very long time versus like the short social media content, obviously.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And look, I'm sure a lot of people out there probably think they're not ready to write a book yet. So, what belief would you say do they need to just let go of before they step into that level of authority?
I think it's the belief of not being good enough. What do I know? Who wants to listen to me? It's a lot of limited belief. And I think a really good market analysis helps when you just see what people are searching for, what the market demands, and then people see, oh, I actually know this stuff. Like I could do this. You know what I mean? If you're just guessing and think, also if you just compare yourself with like big publisher, Simon and Schuster and Penguin and whatnot, and then you get obviously like a little bit intimidated. But if you just do like a market analysis, if you understand how to do it, and if you understand a little bit and see the data, what is possible, what people searching for, where still like low competition and space for first time author, then it becomes quite easy. And then there is no excuse anymore why people shouldn't publish a book. It's just like the self-limited belief which holds you back. But when you see the data and when you see, oh my God, I could do it. And then also what we give you when we do like market analysis for authors, we give you like an outline. We see, okay, this is the data. Now let's restructure your book. Let's like reposition you and go really from chapter to chapter, from the beginning to the end. And then you just have to follow the structure. So it's not super hard to do it if you have like really step-by-step guideline based on your experience.
That's the difference. That's the difference. Trying to do it alone, I can imagine being very scary. And you're right, it's the same as podcasting. When people come to me, they want to launch a podcast, as I did in the beginning, it's like, oh, who wants to listen to, who am I? Who wants to listen to me? And it is something that you just get over. The beauty is, and the way I look at it, both for podcasting and I imagine it's exactly the same for writing a book, is that if people don't like me or don't want to listen, guess what? They're not listening. So I get to show up for people who are listening. Actually, it's great because you don't have to handle any rejection. Same with a book. You're not forcing somebody to read a book. So if people don't want to read it, they're not going to. So you're only delivering something for those that are. Actually, I think it's you're not chasing vanity metrics like on social media. I think it's a much better way to do it because you are getting to serve those who do want or need it. So if anyone out there listening right now knows that they want to build serious authority in their industry, what is the first step they should take before even thinking about writing the book?
Again, market analysis. It all comes back to understand the market, the data, and go from there, and then compare with your own knowledge what can you deliver honestly, not just using ChatGPT and making stuff up. You need to understand who you are, and then you need to understand what the market is looking for, and then bring this together, and from there create an outline. Everything comes back to the market analysis. Also, like later the design, because if you, and I saw this so many times, if you're writing a book in a certain niche and then you're using design elements from a different niche, you do like genre confusion. You confuse people and then you miss your shot as well. For example, I had one gentleman he was from Canada, and he asked me if I can have a look on his books. And I immediately saw, this is like you writing a nonfiction book. And he had like his cover designs from like science fiction thriller stuff. And I asked him about it, and he's, yeah, my first books. He wrote out of a passion project. He wrote like nonfiction, science fiction thrillers, and he used this kind of style for his nonfiction book, and obviously it didn't work. Like you attracting the wrong readers.
So it sounds like there's a lot more to think about than I would suggest most people think. If there's any listeners out there and that they would love to do this, but they want to do it right, they don't want to make the mistakes, they just want to clear. The beauty about you doing, or what I can envision of you doing, looking at the numbers, right, the reality of it, is again about removing the emotion from it. We all know that when we can find a way to be detached from the outcome, right? And I think when you bring in logic and numbers and stats, that's the reality that helps remove that emotion. So for the listeners out there, they want to do this, but really they need you to guide them. What should the listeners do next?
So if someone is serious of publishing a nonfiction book, they can contact me and we do like a market analysis at no costs and digging deep in what is possible, how they can position, how they can rewrite the outline if it's too far off, or even before people start writing, if they know their niche, if they know what they want to write about. Like we also start with a market analysis and then suggesting an outline, and people can just do it like step by step.
Perfect. And where can they find that?
My website is www.digital-authors.com.
And if you didn't catch that, don't worry. The link will be in the show notes. So resort back to that. Come on, there's no risk there. May as well have a look. Find out what the stats are showing. Is it going to be worth it? Wiebke, thank you for your time today. And guys, look, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something practical that you can use straight away. One of the biggest challenges I see with coaches and consultants is not actually knowing how to talk about their expertise in a way that positions them as the authority. And whether you're writing a book or whether you're guesting on podcasts or creating content, the stories you tell are what build that credibility, just as Wiebke has shared. So I've created a free story bank GPT that helps you uncover and just organize the stories that demonstrate your expertise, the ones that build trust and naturally lead people towards working with you. Now you can grab that completely free at podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free. And if you want to go deeper, I've also made my 4-part mini course, the Podcast Profits Funnel, available. It's only $5. Inside, I walk you through the exact system I teach private clients, how to guest on podcasts strategically, build back-end offers, and turn visibility into real business opportunities. Now, if you complete the course in 5 days and do the short assignments, you'll also unlock a bonus training taken directly from my 5K program on automating your sales. So if you don't like doing sales calls, many coaches don't, start with the Story Bank GPT, and if it resonates, dive into the mini course and implement the system properly. Everything is waiting for you. podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free. And as I said earlier, if you're thinking about guesting, publishing a book is a proven way. It's a much better way of getting an ROI from your guest appearances. But as you can hear, even if there is ChatGPT out there, right, you can't just write the whole book with ChatGPT, right? You really need guidance. You need the market analysis. So if you want to have the international bestseller, do it the right way, because it's going to take a lot of effort and you want an ROI from it. Check the show notes for the link, have a little chat and find out how is this going to work and how can this actually drive clients, because I know it works. It's been proven to work. I have spoken with many people who have had results from launching a book to drive clients. So thank you so much for your time today, and to the listeners, I'll be back next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're